So welcome to the Voice and Pen podcast here. We are here today with Trent Harrison, and he is a venue owner as well as a studio owner in Wilmington, North Carolina. We're excited to talk to you. Thank you for being on the show today, Trent. We're looking forward to hearing what you have to say about the music scene here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. It's our first year. We're really thrilled that you're here. And so I think let's start here. Give us a little background about how you got into music production, and how you got to Wilmington as well.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess my journey in music kind of started like late middle school, early high school. Is when I first started picking up instruments. I pretty quickly gravitated towards the bass. It was kind of out of a need. Just my group of friends at the time, they were playing, and bass was the only instrument that wasn't taken at that moment. And so there was a drummer and a guitar player and singer and so on and so forth. And they're like, "We need a bass player." I'm like, "Okay, all right."
It's a familiar story
I'll
for
go
bass
for that.
players, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. I was playing a little guitar, but it was just like, sure, bass, why not? I wasn't too invested in that at the time. So, I picked up the bass, and production happened pretty soon after that. I mean, I took to the bass quickly, played all the time, like hours a day in high school, and then would have band practice with my friends weekly, and we would play out, and it was a lot of fun. I just loved it. And then time came, we were like, hey, we should record some of these songs that we got, and one of the other members of the band had like an old like Tascam 4-track recorder, and classic story. And basically we just recorded ourselves at our band practice spot, and I got really into it with the guy who was the guitar player at the time. And it was like the two of us were kind of heading up the production end of our record. And I don't know, I just kind of really fell in love with it. And then it was like at the same time I was starting to think, like I was a junior in high school, so I was starting to think about college, career decisions and what I wanted to do with my life and career. And it was very clear that music was really the only thing I was passionate about. And so I looked around for ways that I could make that. I mean, I was mostly playing at that time. I had more experience with that, but I realized pretty early on, I was like, I probably would have a better go at a career if I took the technical route than if I tried to be a musician. And so I did. And I found Guilford Tech in High Point, North Carolina, and they have Entertainment Technologies program. They have recording engineering, live sound, artist management, and some performance as well. And you kind of dabble in all of that whenever you pursue any of the degrees there. And so I majored in recording engineering. And let's see, once I started continued to dabble in recording throughout that whole, as I would learn more, I would practice on my own music and my band's music at the time. And then eventually got to friends' band's music and stuff like that. And had a little rehearsal space in High Point, and started using that as like the first Hourglass Studios kind of.
It's kind of like having a truck when you're helping your friends move.
Yeah.
It's like you've been doing this yourself. You figure it out. You got good muscles. You got a nice truck, and the next thing you know, your phone's ringing because everybody wants you to help them move their refrigerator.
That's pretty much how it went.
Okay.
That's pretty much how it went. We shared the rehearsal space with another band. And so as soon as I started to like amass a little bit of recording equipment, they're like, hey, want to record us? I'm like, well, sure, let's do it.
Nice.
It'll be good fun and practice. And so, several years up there, finished that degree, and then knew at that point, like recording was what I wanted to do. And during that time, part of the degree was that there was an internship that was part of it that you had to do like your senior year or final semester or whatever. And it was very difficult to get an internship at another studio. There was several studios in the area, still are, of course, and I reached out to probably 4 or 5 different studios and didn't even get any response.
No callback,
No,
nothing.
no
Just
callback, no email,
into the ether.
nothing. Yeah, yeah. Didn't physically, go over there, but at the same time, it's like, this is really tough. And so I talked to my professors, and they're like, yeah, we know. We deal with this pretty much every semester. All of our students have a hard time with this. So if you can find a internship in live sound at a venue or something like that, then that's fine. Even though you're a recording major, go work at a venue, do some live sound. We'll count that because we know that this is a difficult thing. And so that was a good thing, honestly, because it basically showed me very early on that, like, if I wanted to do this, I was probably going to have to start my own thing. And I kind of already was doing that, but, I was like, nah, I need to just go get a job at a studio and then work for however many years, and then maybe I'll do my own thing. And so at that point, I was like, well, if I'm going to start my own studio, then I probably need some more business sense. And if I'm going to start my own business,
I should learn how to do that.
I should probably learn more about business because all I knew about was music at that point. And so that's what got me to Wilmington. I applied to UNCW's business school, and they have a entrepreneurship degree in business development. I was like, well, that's perfect. That's exactly what I need. And so moved down here, went to UNCW, finished that degree, and then put the two together and started Hourglass Studios.
So when did Hourglass officially open? Here in Wilmington, I guess.
Here in Wilmington is pretty much 2010 was like the official opening date-ish year.
And you're on your third location now?
My third and final location.
When you build it, you generally don't want to move.
You stay there. That's right. The forever home.
Where did you come up with the name?
Okay. So during the time when I was still in High Point, early on when I was kind of like trying to do my thing, I needed, of course, to think of a name. I was back home at my mom's helping her clean out her attic one day, and I stumbled across this old vintage wooden hourglass, and it's at the studio now.
At the studio, not at the club.
No.
Okay.
There is one at the club,
I
but
saw
it's not that one.
I noticed the one at the club last night on the ledge over by the mixing board, and I was like, man, that looks really cool. That looks like the ultimate way to tell that you're singer-songwriter open mic. You have 3 minutes.
Done.
That's right.
It's as objective as it can be.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Watch the sand. Yep. So I found that, and it just kind of came to me like that. It was my grandfather's, and he was an entrepreneur and started his own business, and he had passed pretty recently before that, and so I was kind of really connected to that and decided to name it after that.
That somehow reminds me, not somehow, but specifically reminds me of a song that Emily has written called Aristotle.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard that song?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, super cool.
Yeah.
You've heard a lot of our work.
I have.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. I mean, obviously, since mine was the song's about a piece of furniture from my grandfather. So it's very sentimental. It's good to have a name that reminds you of your family.
Absolutely. So that's pretty much where it came from. And I still have it. It's at the studio.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you've worked with a real wide variety of artists.
Mm-hmm.
I know that because I was one that walked into your studio, having never been in a studio before.
Yeah.
In the original location, the first one, up in near, what's the name of that neighborhood up there?
North Chase.
Yeah, near North Chase, and
right.
recorded there. And then you've also done work with Weird Al Yankovic and with Lucas Nelson, Promise of the Real. I don't know that you recorded them, but they rehearsed in your space.
Correct,
but,
yeah.
So you get this vast exposure to musicians with different skill sets and with different levels of experience. So what's that like for you as a recording engineer?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's great. I like working with young, fresh artists that are just kind of getting started, no matter what age they are. And then, of course, love working with seasoned players as well. I feel like it's nice working with the younger artists because I can really help them a lot and to further their song development.
Can vouch for this.
And that's a good feeling, and teach them a lot about production and how recording is different than playing live and rehearsing with their band or on their own, and the things that they need to do to prepare for that. And then working with the seasoned players is always great. I learn from them, as well.
Sure.
So it's good. I like both.
So from your perspective, what does someone need to do to be prepared when they walk into your studio? What does that mean? Like if you're
tuned, tuned.
Tune your guitar.
Tuning, number one, yes. Be
Yes.
tuned, maybe know your material, but like what are some tricks and tips that you would give people at this point, like to help out? That's part of what we want to do through this podcast is bring ideas and education to folks in addition to general knowledge about the music industry and the music business here in Wilmington.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the number one thing, and it should come as no surprise, is practice. Practice, practice, practice. Like you want to be so well prepared, like you've basically beat your songs to death.
Play it until you hate it.
Play it until you hate it, just about. I mean, you want to not even have to think about anything about your song before you record it, really. And of course, you want your guitar to be in tune, but we could work on that when you get there. Fresh strings on your guitar is good, but not too fresh. Like I usually, pre-stretched. I usually don't suggest changing it the night before and then walking in, and because they're gonna get a little out of whack. Like have them on for like a couple days and play your normal amount, and it'll probably be good. Rest if you're going to be singing is very important. Maybe don't go out drinking the night before, stuff like that. If you are, this is a weird one. If you are a smoker, don't quit smoking, thinking that, well, I probably shouldn't be smoking because I don't want to, my voice to be all. It's worse, actually. You just need to continue on with your regular routine.
I need to book a lot more time with you.
You're enabling TK.
Yeah.
This works for me. I like it.
I think practicing with a click track is important for me. I'm not like playing with a click is really hard for me. So like, I know when I've recorded with you, just having to turn that click off and try it with it and then try it multiple times without it and then having to play without hearing like the lyrics too is challenging for me. So I think playing with a click or at least attempting that is a good
I think that's technique. The most important thing, honestly. I mean, it's a lot about timing. Unless we're doing a live session where we're not using the click, then you're going to need to be with it. With all of your songs, you need to have all your BPMs figured out ahead of time, beats per minute, the tempo, and of course all your keys and all that stuff too. But
that's the first recording session I did with no click track, and so it creates like learning to do that is so important because it creates a whole other set of issues if you don't learn to do that. So if you're recording everything at once because you're challenged with the click track like I was, and you have all the bleed between your vocal mic and your guitar mics, and it's plus the sitting there with two mics on the guitar and the vocal mic all at the same time it's like a little awkward. You get sore.
Stay steady to keep it consistent.
Yes, don't move. Freeze.
Right.
Oh man. Yeah. So you've been from my perspective super instrumental in the development or furthering of the songwriter scene in Wilmington. Kind of going back to the Goat and Compass open mic, where you were for a long time giving away 32 hours of recording time a year. You did that for several years. So what do you see happening currently, and how has the music scene changed in Wilmington since you got here?
Man.
That's a big question.
How much time do we have, TK?
37 seconds.
Yeah.
Talk fast.
All right. So, I mean, I moved here in 2009, and I feel like the music scene has changed a lot since that amount of time. I mean, 12, 13 years or whatever it is. And
14
years. God. What year is it?
2023.
Now. Here we are.
It's a good thing you're good at recording and not building the NASA spacecraft.
Oh yeah.
With that, we'd all be in trouble.
Yeah. probably would have thought more about that if that was the case.
After the break.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I the way I've seen it, I feel like is it kind of comes and goes in waves. You know, it's almost like a cyclical kind of thing, where there's artists like it's just like it builds up, and then there's a ton of artists that are playing a lot out, and there's shows to go to all the time. You know, everywhere. And then we kind of go through like a trough sometimes where there's not as many artists playing out, and you know, maybe there's not as many venues to play in. I know you know, as you guys have seen over the years, we've had some closures and so on and so forth, and they're a big part of the music scene as well. And so you know, I think what made me set up shop here and stay is how vibrant the music scene is. And I still always feel that way. And it kind of hurts my heart sometimes when I get on social media and they're like, man, there's no place to play and no one's playing music. Like this, the music scene is so like dismal here in Wilmington. I'm like, where are you looking?
What
Like,
universe
yeah,
do you
what
live in?
I saw that recently.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah. I'm like, really? Like,
That's
not
Are
true.
you out there?
Right.
Like, are you out there, like, checking it out?
And where did you move here from? You
Yeah,
know?
right. Did you
Stop
come
it.
from
Oh, you came from Nashville.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a little smaller.
We're on our way.
Yeah.
Working on it.
Yeah.
And stop going to clubs where you have to pay so much money just to park your car.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because all those clubs in the downtown area that do the and you're paying, I think we're at $3.50 an hour now on weekends or
Did
something.
go up recently, yeah.
So have fun with that, kids.
Yeah.
The rest of us are going to be at the, you know, where the music, we're going to be at Voice and Pen performances where the parking is free. It's a single level place. All the material is original. You get to meet them, talk to them, and
Yeah, absolutely. And stuff like that. And like you said, the open mic. I mean, we ran that for 5 years. And I mean, that was great. That was great for the studio. I think it was great for the music community. I met a lot of people. You know, we started working together, CB.
Yep.
You know, it's just a good community building thing. And now there's tons of open mics, which is also great. But,
Just saw there's another one now. They're
Really?
just
Yeah.
starting tonight, or it started last night at Palette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Palette's getting in the open mic game.
Right down the street.
Who knew?
Yeah,
You know?
so you can go from the goat, and then you can go to Bottega, and then you can
Yeah.
go to Palette.
It's gonna be-
Just
it's
hit
gonna
them
be-
all in a row.
The goat is no more. You know, sadly,
Yeah.
the goat is no more. But you know, I think that was a little bit inevitable. And
it's going to be like a Bambi walk. So there's a notorious Bambi walk in Louisville, Kentucky. Is a tradition with the Kentucky Derby in Louisville, where there's Bardstown Road has like 50 bars on it. And the Bambi walk is you start at one end of Bardstown Road and you drink at each bar walking all the way down. So you could do that with an acoustic guitar and just literally Bambi walk open mics.
You good?
pretty
Yeah.
close to that.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we're going to have to work it out. And if we get together with the guy with the bicycle cab, right, where they're
Oh.
playing
Oh,
music, then you could do like little trolley tours with your acoustic and do open mics along the way. Or...
Yeah, that's a good. You get a trailer. You know,
Yeah.
like during
Yeah.
COVID, there. Like I remember seeing some Wilmington musicians like Stuart Curran and a couple other guys that were in trailers behind vehicles
that.
in
Oh,
Carolina
yes.
Beach doing like a
Yeah.
mobile concert.
Okay.
Yeah. So you know we could rickshaw it around,
Yeah.
like get a
Yeah.
little rickshaw with
Yeah.
a trailer and have like an acoustic guitar player and singer or duo in the back. You know, if you get the gearing properly set, you know, so you know it would be easy for the rickshaw driver.
Right.
But if you don't have the right gearing,
gonna be
depending
tough.
on who's,
Yeah.
if I'm in the trailer, not good for the bicycle rider.
Right.
I feel like that was a brief discussion to do with Voice in the Pen here, like pop up, you
Yeah,
know,
that's
and
what
then
I'm-
say like, we do this at Live at Ted's the first Wednesday of every month, and
Mhm.
like you see us here, but you wouldn't have known about us unless you saw us like downtown on our truck or our,
on the trailer.
yes.
Yeah.
And the
yeah,
bicycle
yeah.
thing, by the way, everybody on the bicycle is pedaling. It's not just one person.
All right.
Right.
Oh, I want the one person rickshaw with the trailer. That's we get different visions. We have to work
you're
this
gonna
out.
have, you're gonna have like,
It's gonna be a really fit guy.
It's a really
You're gonna
fit
have
human
yeah,
being.
yeah.
you're gonna have Lou Ferrigno on leg day.
Yeah. Right.
That's the plan. That's the plan.
So I'm curious because when I first moved here, it was in 2012, and Live at Ted's was Ted's Fun on the River.
Yeah.
And so I know, and I knew about Hourglass Studios before you guys took that over. So how did that kind of like, how did you decide that you wanted to take over that venue and keep it going?
Yeah, good question. Okay. So Ted's Fun on the River was ran by the Jewell family, Kelly and Julia. And
big music family in Wilmington. Like if you're listening for the first time and don't know much about Wilmington music history, check out the Jewell family. There's a poster from one of Roy Orbison's shows in Live at Ted's where Kelly Jewell sang, I think opened maybe for Roy Orbison back in the day.
I
Something
hate to
like that.
spoil it.
Oh,
It's
no,
not real.
it's not
real.
We'll edit this out later.
If you did the math on that, I think he'd have been 5 years old.
I don't know Kelly that well, or Roy for that matter.
The age of Roy would give it away right there. But anyway, it is cool. But yes, they are. They are. I mean, the Jewell brothers, No Dollar Shoes, and then Port City Trio is the group that Kelly and Julia play with.
Okay.
And so we artists that I was working with in the studio actually turned me on to Ted's initially. It was Stray Local actually was playing their first show there. And that probably was around 2013 or something like that. And so they told me about this place. They're like, "You ever heard of Ted's on the River?" I'm like, no. What is that? And they're like, "Well, it's a little different. It's it's a listening room." I'm like, "Okay, what does that entail?" And they're basically like, so everyone goes there and they're there for the show. They're focused on the music and they're listening to the performance, and they're not like talking, and it's not a rowdy,
getting hammered.
Right, it's not a rowdy bar crowd. Like they don't have liquor. They do have beer and wine, so you can kind of enjoy yourself, but it's not the rowdy bar scene. I was like, wow, that's a novel idea.
Right.
People are listening to your music.
What? I thought it was background.
Yeah. Right.
And your equipment will last a lot longer.
Absolutely. And so I went down there to check them out. Me and Whitney went, and when you walked in initially, there was a convenience store. And so they were kind of doing this hodgepodge thing. So you walked in the door, and then there was like all your convenience store type things, like ramen noodles and chips and like ice cream and sodas and everything. Because the original idea, after talking to Kelly about it, was they're right down there on the river, and the boat ramp is right there. So he thought that like he could sell all that stuff to the boaters. Like they would stop on the corner right there, grab their supplies, and then fill up their coolers and go out for their boat venture for the day. And I'm sure some of that stuff did happen a little bit, but he found out quickly that it just didn't happen. They already had everything before they got there, or they just didn't know Ted's was even there. And
didn't they also rent kayaks for a while?
Yes.
I thought that was the weirdest damn thing.
Yes, they did everything. Also, right there by the river, they rented
in case
kayaks.
You left your kayak at home. We got a couple for you in the backyard.
Right. And I'm sure that was a touristy kind of thing. They're trying to rent to tourists. I'm not sure how well that was at all. But when I talked to Kelly about it, he was like, music was the only thing that really kept this place going. He was like, because they were musicians, like we just said. And they wanted to have a place to play. And so the other half of Ted's was the stage is where it is now. And they had seating like we do now. But there was that dividing wall right there. And so anyway, so what happened was after going there over the years, and we lived pretty close by. We're only like 2 blocks away. So we would go down there every so often. And then we saw at the end of 2018 that they were thinking about closing. And at that point in time, the studio was doing really well. I was full-time, consistently busy, booked out for months, all year round, pretty much. And I was like, I wonder if there's a way to expand the empire or whatever, expand the business and
at least you're honest. I appreciate that.
And get into something else that's music related, which is the only thing I really cared about, you know. And we really liked the concept of Ted's, right? I mean, the listening room thing was very unique, and to have it go away was sad.
Mm-hmm.
And then also several other venues that same year, like the Whiskey and the Calico Room, closed.
Mm-hmm.
So then I also saw that there was not very many music venues in town.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, well, maybe we can actually have a go at this. And we kind of have a little competitive advantage right now. So maybe this is a good move here. And then I was also thinking, well, I can run the sound. Whitney has bar experience. She used to work at the Real Cafe for like 6 or 7 years.
God bless her.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, she feels the same way. And but yeah, so we had the skill set, and we'd prior to that we'd booked I booked festivals or small daytime things like before, so we had experience booking with bands, and of course, I scheduled the studio and very similar and all that. And so we had the whole skill set and everything, and so we saw they were closing, we reached out, we were like, we're interested in this place and we want to keep it going. And they said, they're like, that's what we're looking for. We don't want Ted's to die, but we're going to sell it either way.
Mm-hmm.
If it has to go and turn into something else, we need to sell it. We're ready to retire.
Mm-hmm.
But preferably, we'd like to keep it going. And so like, well, we'll basically promise to keep it going and buy the business from you. And so they agreed, and we worked it out. And then we did a little remodeling and took out that wall and opened it up and made more room for seating. And that's how Live at Ted's was.
And gave it quite a tech
born.
upgrade too.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Major tech upgrade.
Pretty important.
Well, it makes me think about the music scene here because, with your work at the studio and also with your work at Live at Ted's, you have this exposure not just to local songwriters and musicians, but also regional and even national acts that come through and play there.
Yeah.
So, with that experience in mind, what are you seeing and hearing from people outside of Wilmington about the music scene here in Wilmington? So when you have touring acts or someone coming through that plays Ted's, what's their general response to what they see and hear and learn about Wilmington?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we do a good mixture, like you said, and I would say the people that come through that either haven't been to Wilmington in a long time or maybe never been to Wilmington before, they love it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how much outside of Ted's they ventured out while they were in town, but they're like, man, this is fantastic. Like, we love that you guys got this going on. It's a place for us it's a listening room. We try to play those as often as we can whenever we can find one, and must have a really good music scene around here. And then I usually start talking to them, and I try to tell them about other places to play in Wilmington, and if they ever want to come back, you should check this place out, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, cool. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Have you been able to record anybody that's come through that you met as a result of Live at Ted specifically, that was like somebody that came through and then that's crossed over into doing some recording work with you at Hourglass?
Yeah, so not yet, but I have 2 projects that are kind of in the works right
Nice.
now, kind of in the pipeline, so to speak, that we met solely through Ted's.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Will Overman band from Charlottesville, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
They've played at Ted several times now, and I've been telling them about the studio, and they're looking to do some recording, and they thought it'd be nice to get out of Charlottesville to do it,
Mhm.
and they love playing at Ted's. So they're like, hey, maybe we can make this a thing and do both. And then the same thing goes from a duo, Mark and Ray Ann from Massachusetts,
Mhm.
that are kind of looking to do the same thing. They're like, we record like 30, 45 minutes away from where we live most of the time, but they're like, we really kind of want to get out somewhere else and just totally focus on that, clear our heads, not be distracted by our normal day-to-day lives, and go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so got those 2 kind of in the works.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So I don't know if you are familiar with this, and I probably at some point should use my Google Box phone thing and like look this up, but I've heard that there was an article written in Rolling Stone about Wilmington, and it was a long time ago. It was before Ice House closed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it was like maybe early to mid 90s,
Mhm.
and there was, as rumor goes, or at least as I remember the rumor, there was a reference that Wilmington might become like the next East Coast Seattle, sort of.
Cool.
Not necessarily the genre, not the grunge, genre, but just in terms of like a
The
music
next
city
hotbed.
of music. And then the
Yeah.
Ice House closed, and then like that's the other part of the rumor is that once that
Yeah.
happened, that was one of those big ebbs
Mm,
in
mm.
the scene here, where it's
Yeah.
like people weren't playing, they weren't
Yeah.
performing as much. COVID similar, but it
Yeah.
wasn't the actual loss of a building.
Right.
Have you heard of that? Have you heard that story before or aware of it or
I've
anything?
not. I think we've talked about that
I
maybe
think we
once
have
before
actually.
in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
past, but I had not heard that outside. But I love that.
yeah.
I think that I mean, I feel. I mean, I'm very passionate about Wilmington's music scene, and I hope that one day it could be recognized, outside of people that know.
I think it's
Yeah.
coming. I mean, to speak like directly and specifically to that, this goes to your involvement in the scene here in current day. When the Goat and Compass open mic started in its original format, it was one of 3 open mics in Wilmington. One was at Grinders Cafe, kind of the college open mic.
Yep.
One
Yep.
was the one that I ran at a variety of different places up in Ogden. So Locals Tavern, and then Tavern 14, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then the Goat and Compass open mic. And it was like the same crowd of musicians really going around from place to place. There's
Right.
4 to 8 of us, like Jim Ashley, Dave Wallen, me, Dennis Brenson, Eric Miller. And I was going there, and I would show up to that open mic, and they'd be like, we gig, you don't gig, there's nobody here, just play, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
started hearing the ads on the radio and the partnership with Hourglass, and I specifically remember a night, it was the first night I walked in, that it was busy,
Yeah.
packed.
Yeah.
And so through the front door of the Goat and Compass, in walks Rebecca Todd, followed by Wes Sayer and Monica Jane Holscher, followed by JB Boxer, who, if you don't know him, you should. I mean, I think you know JB. He's an amazing songwriter from Raleigh. Followed by Striking Copper.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like, what just happened?
It's heavy hitting night.
Heavy
yeah.
hitting night. I mean,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
it was.
where did you park all the limos?
Yeah.
They weren't driving limos then.
Right.
I mean, it was like an up close and personal show, standing right on the rail when you walk in and listening to these musicians. And Rebecca Todd, of course, is in the midst of blowing up right now. Like she's in the middle of having her
I remember
career
seeing
taken
her at
off.
Hourglass too, and being like, "Who's that?"
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow,
yeah.
she can. Holy smokes, she can sing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, thank you for the foresight that you've had to, I don't know, have that real positive contribution to the music scene here. Like, I think that there are a lot of us that wouldn't be where we are today doing what we're doing on whatever level that is without your insight and influence and input. So we're grateful for you coming here and picking Wilmington.
Wow.
I don't know how you picked Wilmington, but I'm glad you did.
I appreciate that. I mean, I'd be remiss as far as the open mic goes without, talk about Eric, because I feel like it was like, that was his thing, basically. I mean, we were partners and collaborated and developed it, but Eric was the face, he was the host. And I mean, he made everyone feel very comfortable at that open mic. And so cheers to him for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I was looking through some photos on my computer the other day, like through my iPhoto thing, and I found 2 or 3 videos, and it's the first open mic I ever played, and he sat in with me. And there are videos of me and Eric Miller on stage. It's the only time he and I played music together in a public setting
Oh, wow.
ever, and really the only time we played music together. He doesn't jam out too much with anybody really,
Right.
but Alex.
Right, absolutely.
But he's definitely somebody that we want to have on the show for sure.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah, you
be
should.
super cool to get him in here and hear his perspective as well.
Absolutely.
You got any like wildly interesting or important or touching, whatever, other adjectives, stories from the recording studio? Any super impactful things that have happened with you and artists working in the studio together?
Wow. Okay.
That just came to me on the
Yeah,
spot. Sorry, it
yeah.
didn't make it into the pre-written
Yeah.
list. It's very unscripted. We
That's
can edit
okay.
some of this out later.
Yeah. I'll have to dig deep a little bit. Man, it's hard to think of something very specific with a specific artist, but it's a really cool job. I mean, I get to work with artists on a very personal and connective level, and they're sharing their, deepest feelings and thoughts, and I'm a front row seat on that. And so I've definitely had many, conversations that have kind of ended in teary moments about songs that they've written, and how like it's just amazing that they're able to convey those emotions that way.
Yeah.
And that I think that, if anyone were to hear that, they would hear their feelings, basically. And so it's cool in that regard. And, I love that whenever someone brings a song that like is like a true story about themselves that really connects deeply. And so I get a lot of moments that way, which is nice.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to speaking to like you being able to like people are able to open up to you, then it says that like they're comfortable, in that setting too. I think.
Yeah.
Like you make people, I think, very comfortable, like where they are and.
Relax.
Yeah.
Record.
Yes.
Relax, record. That's right.
He means it, y'all.
That's right.
That.
The
Yes,
slogan. Yes, that's it.
I also think talking about like the music here and like growing our like industry here and being like a music town, like we're Wilmy Wood.
Yeah.
So why can't we be known as a music town as well as a film town?
That's right. I think so.
I think it's coming. I think it's
can,
becoming really just a creative community. Like there are a lot of artists that live here. There are a lot of musicians that live here. So, I mean, when I say artists, I'll say specifically visual artists, people that paint, sculpt, do those sorts of that more classic sort of art. There are a lot of musicians that live here, a lot of filmmakers that live here.
Yeah.
How did you pick Wilmington? This has got me interested because I know you have a background in film. That's how we really met, other than one chance meeting at the Goat and Compass open mic.
And Cucaloris. That's basically, I chose it because of the film, because similar to what you said earlier was when I went to school, when I was in high school, I was like, what do I want to do? I want to be a singer, but I need to have something to fall back on because, the chances of like actually getting to a certain level is like, not to be like a downer about it, but like, being realistic and kind of like, what do I want to do is like get an audio video degree. And so that's what I did. And I chose Wilmington because I knew Dawson's Creek was filmed here. Green Gems was here. So I moved down to get into film, but then also hit up the Grinders open mic and started meeting as many musicians as I could. That's what brought me here.
I mean, it's interesting though, thinking about the conversation TK and I had this morning with John Landau. He's a filmmaker here in Wilmington, and he's also a musician, and so he did the opening night music for Cucaloris this year. He's a real heavy 3-piece, Tripodicus, they call themselves.
Okay.
They're great, man. They're really good, but he was similar. He's like, I wanted to always be a musician, and I, tried that for a little while, and then I realized I better find something else to do to support my
support the music,
support my music.
Yeah.
So I wish I had that foresight. Feel like in terms of formal training, I've got the least formal creative training of anybody in this room right now. Literally 100%. I can tell you how to build a boat.
Yeah.
I have never used it, and my technology knowledge is all really outdated 25 years later. But I can tell you the theory behind it, anyways.
Well, I can't build a boat. So.
Did you keep any of those kayaks though?
No, we did not.
Dang it!
Yeah.
Man, the next idea was a floating barge of music being towed by a kayak. It's Lou Ferrigno's Upper Body Day.
Hey, you might be onto something,
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I think Wilmington Water Tours might have us on that one, though.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, but all their material is copyright. It's not original. It's not.
Who? Wilmington Water Tours?
Oh, the performances, like the music.
Well, certainly the music they play on the.
Oh, yeah.
They do have people play.
They got perform.
They do.
They do.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I thought that boat sailed.
In motors, that's for sure.
I've never played that, but I definitely was on there one time. I had a brief safety meeting with Eric and Alex, and then they were like, "Oh, you need to come with us and just sit here in the corner."
Yeah.
So I sat in the corner and I'm on a boat.
Yeah.
And there's music, and everybody's staring at me.
This is wild.
They're staring at the musicians.
Definitely.
You're sitting next to them.
Right.
A different gig. Yeah, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, there's
Things
someone
are
like
moving around,
right here, and I'm like, okay, it's just a little space.
Yeah.
Here.
But
Sorry if it's loud.
Has anybody ever stolen your shoes at a gig? I was playing
No.
a gig at Shell Island with Johnny, and I had put on nice shoes to play in because it was a dirty, muddy parking lot, and my other shoes were with the empty guitar case. And this lady just decided to help herself and
Oh
put
my
on my
gosh.
shoes and started dancing around while we were playing. Yeah. And in the middle of this, she's like, "Whose shoes are these?" Johnny's like, "Well, they're yours now."
Wow.
But yeah, I didn't know if it ever got that
I've had
rowdy.
someone try to steal the mic. Not steal it, but like,
Mhm.
is this karaoke? Can I sing?
Oh, right.
Can I sing on your microphone?
jump up there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me play one.
I'm really
No.
good.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're like,
You know,
Sorry.
like first or second paid gig I ever had, I made that mistake. You know,
Mm. You
Yeah.
let somebody up there?
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
let somebody-
no.
I've
oh,
done it
dude.
too.
Oh,
Oh,
rookie
man.
year, rookie
Yeah,
year. I
don't
was
do
at
that.
Blue Surf Cafe,
Yeah.
and I was getting paid $40 to play a 2-hour set, but they fed me
Okay.
and my 3 kids.
Oh.
So
Oh, wow.
it was like
That adds
single
up.
dad shows up
Yeah,
with
Yeah.
like
Benny's add up.
Yeah, that adds
my
up.
little Fishman loud box and my Taylor and like stool and big book of music because I couldn't remember anything then. Like make the kids like sit and shh, I gotta play music now, you know.
Right.
And I play my first 45-minute set and get done. And this guy comes up, he's like, really like your music. I'm a guitar player too. I'm going to get up there and play it. And I'm like, okay. So I go tell the manager, I'm like, so this guy's going to play while I'm on break? He's like, that's fine. But if he sucks, your break is over.
Oh.
he gets 30 seconds into the first song and the manager walks by. He's like, break's over.
Yeah. Get back up there.
You go
Oh,
figure
wow.
out how to get him on stage.
That's right. You made your bed.
I was like, oh.
Oh, no.
So I kind of creep up by the stage. I'm like, I need my guitar back. He's like, your break's over. I'm like,
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And
Never again.
Bye.
And a good kitchen manager would have just given you the spatula.
Yeah. Smack him with that.
We'll leave it at
Or
spatula.
wooden spoon, depending on what culture you're from.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
That's wild.
Yeah. So since we're editing a lot of stuff out, what else should we be talking about? We
That's
get
good.
Time to,
Yeah, good question.
to brainstorm. I mean, how long have we been recording, TK?
yeah.
I lost my glasses. Oh wait,
About 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long do you want them to be?
Not longer than an hour.
Okay.
You know, like I'd say we're targeting broken record length.
Yeah. Nice.
We have
Good
a
model.
template and model for
Good
this.
model. Yeah.
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 We probably shouldn't put this
Oh,
out there, but
certainly
I'm gonna.
about contact.
What?
Like how to get a
How do
hold
we get a
of
hold
you.
of Trent? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Oh.
Trent, how do we get in touch with you if like somebody wants to record or they want to try and get booked at Ted's or they want to buy tickets to come to Ted's? Like, tell us how to get up with you.
Okay, yeah, start with the studio. So if you're interested in recording, go to hourglassstudios.com and I have a contact page and you can send me a form submission and then I will most likely respond with a form of my own and ask you a handful of questions, not too many. And that kind of gets the process started. So I learn a little bit about you and then we usually will set up a tour and you come in and check out the studio and we talk more and then see how things go from there. For Ted's, sort of similar. You go to liveatteds.com and we have a booking page and it basically lays out everything that we're looking for from the artist, videos, promotional materials, pictures, all that stuff. And then there's a contact page on there as well. And then you can hopefully send most of that stuff when you first contact. But if not, just say something like, hey, we read the booking page and we're prepared for all of this. This is kind of when we're hoping to book and then go from there.
So another question for you about the studio. I know that it's a Woodsong certified listening room.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that still a thing? Because if the Roy Orbison thing I got wrong, but the Woodsong certified listening room, that's a thing.
It is.
Are there other Woodsong studios that you know of?
So there is, for sure. And we haven't checked in on that in a while. I'll be honest about that. But the criteria was that you had to be a true listening room, meaning that your shows people are actually engaged in listening, right? And you had to serve coffee. That was part of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's a throwback, like
I
the
like
old
that.
coffee house days,
Yeah,
way
you,
back.
you
yeah.
had to serve coffee. And if you see on the sign, it says listening room and coffee house.
Okay.
And we do serve coffee.
And you do have coffee.
We
Yeah, I've
do.
noticed that.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
It's not elaborate, but we serve coffee. So we qualify. It's if you go to the woodsongs.org page, they have a list of all the other listening rooms or Woodsong certified venues on their page, and you can,
Interesting.
I'd
check
always
them
been
out.
curious about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a great tour
Yeah.
to set up. Like, if you're an
Yeah.
artist, like, I think that's my homework for today is to
Yeah,
go research
right, I
all the
know.
Woodsong
Yeah.
Look
certified
that up.
listening rooms
Do a
and figure out,
tour.
do a tour, do
Yeah.
a Woodsong tour.
Bluebird
Yeah.
Cafe is the only other listening room I've ever been to, but
The Mecca.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, really, kind of like what inspired me to do Voice in the Pen, and then of
Yeah.
course, Ted's is a listening room, so it's really cool that we have one in Wilmington because now I need to look up and see how many there are. But
Right, for sure. There's a handful in North Carolina. Wake County has one, and then I think there's one up in the mountains. But yeah, they're rare. Yeah.
So what's next for Trent Harrison? I mean, you're recording, you're producing live shows in
Like you got
a
your
listening
own
room.
album coming out?
No, that's taken a back seat over the years, man. I don't play nearly as much as I used to. I've focused most of my time on helping other people with their music. But what's next? I mean, I just kind of am getting settled into my new studio location, the Forever Home. And just gonna kind of ride that for a little while and really get comfortable there, and just work on some new projects. I've got several in the works, and yours is one of them.
We got to finish that thing.
That's right, we do. And yeah, just get settled in and really explore everything that I can do in the new studio space.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
mean,
Thank you.
I had a great experience working there. Like, all my experiences working with you have been good, or great, but working in that space, like, it's
yeah, I haven't
it's
seen it.
wild.
I've
Oh my
only seen
gosh.
pictures, but it looks great.
You
Thank
should
you.
get a
I'm
tour.
excited to see. Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Come on
I can,
by.
I know who gets the tours.
That's right. That's right.
I know a guy.
I know a guy.
We'll make it happen.
We got a guy for that.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I observe in the music scene here is that it would be cool to have. I feel like we have a little bit of a venue gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's listening room live at Ted's, and your capacity is like 50, 60 people.
70 technically, but that does include the staff and the band.
Yeah.
So we really, at max, as far as audience members, usually get around 62 people.
And that's
in there.
packed
That's
in that
packed.
space. Like,
Yeah,
that's a
it's tight.
full house.
It's real tight. Yeah.
So to have a venue that could comfortably seat a couple hundred people would be a nice bridge to, get to either Brooklyn Arts, or Greenfield, or one of the larger music venues in town.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I've noticed the same thing. I wish there was something like that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're getting, like, now with Live Oak Bank Pavilion, we're starting to get like this whole other exposure to the Wilmington music scene. So we have this existing songwriter scene. Now all of a sudden, people are coming from around the world, literally, and around the country to come here widespread, or like whoever is coming to Wilmington that's a real national Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah, we're getting tickets to that for
Sweet,
Yeah, for sure.
I love Dave Matthews Band. Oh my gosh, yeah. So it's interesting though, like, Wilmington is becoming more and more known as a music town, and so like Bob Sarnataro, who's a friend of ours, and a musician here in town, he moved to Wilmington from Austin, Texas, for the music scene.
Really?
Yes, I remember meeting Bob the first night I met him, and I think it was at the Goat and Company. It was either at the Goat or he walked into my open mic, and we're chatting, and I'm trying to remember his name and face, and going through that struggle. And I'm like, well, where did you, how long have you been in Wilmington? He's like, oh, I've been here for a couple months. Where'd you move from? Austin, Texas. Why'd you move to Wilmington? The music scene. What?
Yeah, because we all know about Austin.
Yeah, right?
So, yeah.
But it
Austin
gave...
City Limits comes to mind when I was a kid, right?
Yeah, yes.
Still a thing
Some
for
great
sure.
songwriters from Austin. Hayes Carroll. A lot of folks from down there.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to me to hear that and think about, like, that concept overlaid with the idea that now there's a venue here that can seat thousands of people and bring in national level acts. So there are going to be people that will move to Wilmington, I think, literally for the music scene, even if they're not a musician, not a songwriter. They're coming because they love it.
Right.
So maybe that gives us the audience that we need to create a venue
Right,
that
right,
would
to make
support it. You know, that would
possible.
make money, stay open.
For sure.
The important thing about music venues is keeping the doors open.
Yes. If you're gonna do it, you want to do it for a while. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't want to like put hundreds of thousands of dollars into
Right.
something and have
Just
it
for a
close in
year or
6
two?
months.
No, no, yeah, no.
COVID.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that was a wild ride. Thankfully, we survived.